Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
You're listening to Tony Graham on Binjang 91.5, and I've been very privileged today to be able to talk to the Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council, Matthew Dickerson, after the committee meetings that took place on Thursday night. Hello, Matthew.
Very privileged. Gee, Tony, you're putting my weights up there a bit. Thank you very much.
Don't normally do that. I just thought I'd try something different.
Good on you.
Do you feel elevated now, do you?
I feel very important now that Tony Graham thinks that it's a privilege speaking to me. Then I feel very important. Thank you, Tony.
Well, it's not as if I'm trying to, impress you to get something.
No,
by the way.
That's right.
So what comes after this is could be something different.
So you're trying to make me feel a bit more relaxed and comfortable before you hit me between the eyes.
Well, that's it. Just then try and catch you off guard.
Good work.
All right, let's get to our first topic now. There is a local government conference coming up where I think it's compulsory that there is an element of councillors who turn up to that, including the mayor. Is that true? So what are you doing there?
It's not compulsory, but Local Government New South Wales is the peak body for councils across the state, Tony. And I'm not sure if all 128 councils are members of LGNSW. I suspect they are, or if not all 128, very close to all of those councils. Now, there is an annual conference, and I must admit I'm a big fan of our councillors going to that conference. If they could, I'd say all councillors go every single year. One of the things that's great about a conference like this is that you've got formal presentations and then you've got opportunities to discuss things with other councillors from other areas. You can share ideas, get different concepts or different angles. You hear about different problems and different solutions. I just think the education and the potential to do our jobs better as councillors is absolutely there. One of the things that is happening this year is we've got a couple of councillors who haven't been to any conferences ever yet because they're new councillors. So we've got a few new councillors that are going to attend, and some of the ones that have been before certainly going to attend. So we'll probably end up with 8 or maybe even 9 of our councillors going. I would love to see all 10 councillors go, but I do understand it's hard. The conference runs from the 12th of November to the 14th of November later this year. And it is hard for councillors because they all work normal jobs. They've got to get annual leave, they've got to get time away from work, time away from family, etc. So it is hard to get away, but I reckon that would be fantastic if all of them came. But even with 8 or 9, I think that'll be a really strong showing. And the cost per person last year, for example, $2,783 per person. We only pay councillors $25,000 a year. That's not really a lot of money for councillors who are in charge of a huge organisation. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fantastic with so many of us down there.
Okay. Now, Matthew, do you think the council people there deserve a holiday this year? Do you reckon they've earned it, do you think?
I reckon we can probably give them 4 weeks holiday each year. It's just when they might take the holiday is the interesting part.
Yeah.
Traditionally, council staff having time off around Christmas time when we close down the council building. Obviously, essential services keep running. Our rubbish bins are still collected. Water keeps being treated, etc. But for the services that you might have, the council office where you might go in and lodge a DA or pay your rates, that type of thing, normally that's closed down for about a week between Christmas and New Year's, the sort of time frame. But our CEO this year has decided that it would be better for council to be shut down for 2 weeks, which will use up about 7 days of annual leave for the staff there. And there's a few reasons behind that. The first thing is it does seem to be incredibly busy at the moment, and probably we need more staff. So the staff that we've got there are probably working pretty hard, even maybe harder than they would normally. So it's probably a good chance to recharge, basically refresh and attack the next year with gusto after having a bit of a break there. We've also found that after the pandemic and after people had to work through all that pandemic time frame, there's a lot of staff that have got a lot of annual leave built up. And it's not healthy to have too much annual leave build up, so it would be good to reduce that annual leave somewhat. So saying to the staff, the non-essential frontline staff, that you'll have a break from basically Christmas into the early part of January, essentially 2 weeks in total, is the decision that's been taken. And it'll be interesting to hear what the community thinks, but I think the community will be okay. We just find builders, for example, they're not lodging DAs on the 1st of January because they're obviously having a break at that time as well. Most people aren't thinking about those normal day-to-day council functions during that time frame. So I think it's a good move, and I think our staff will appreciate that extra break.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. Wouldn't we all?
Indeed.
Now, the next thing that's exciting, I guess, that's happening is a citizenship ceremony for Wellington. So tell us all about that.
I haven't ever done one in Wellington before, so I'm pretty excited about this. We did one in Dubbo during the week, and we had 38 new citizens from 15 different countries. And I get to do lots of things as mayor. Some of them are really tough decisions, some of them really hard. I have some very difficult conversations with people from time to time. But without doubt, the number one thing I get to do as mayor, apart from talking to Tony Graham every couple of weeks, is I get to officially make people new Australian citizens. So that's pretty exciting. And there's a real buzz in the room when you do it. There's people that are excited to be joining us and be Aussies beside us. So there is no more positive feeling than a citizenship ceremony. But again, people, wherever they live, that's where they will do their citizenship. I haven't had the opportunity yet to do one for Wellington, but on the 25th of July at 11 a.m, I'll be in Wellington doing a citizenship. Now, these are open to the public. So if anyone wants to come along and watch a citizenship, congratulate people after they've become citizens, then come along. We would love to see people there. It's being held at the Wellington Aquatic Leisure Centre meeting room. And again, it's a very uplifting experience. What I normally try and do, Tony, after a citizenship is try and talk to as many people as possible to find out what took them from their country, because it's a pretty big decision to go from where you were born to leave that country, and you've got a couple of hundred countries around the world to choose from to go and live somewhere else. But then you've got 7.6 million square kilometres across this nation, and you choose Dubbo Regional Council, LGA. I get pretty excited about that as well. So come along on that day, on the 25th of July, talk to some of these people that are becoming new citizens, find out their story, find out what brought them to Wellington. I think people will be impressed. And I just love the idea that we've got these great big welcome arms saying to people from wherever they want to come, please come be part of our community.
So that'll be at the swimming pool, I take it.
That'll be at the Aquatic Leisure Centre
swimming
in the
pool.
meeting room.
Yes.
Yeah, swimming pool.
Yes. And you won't need any thunder boxes there. You've got adequate toilets, I would suggest.
I think we'll have enough toilets for the citizenship ceremony in the meeting room there.
Which brings us to the next point, doesn't it? Which is over in Dubbo, I think it's Lions Park. There is a project going on there, fairly unique one, to do with using 3D printing technology to print concrete walls. I think it's concrete or a substance anyway. A pleasant substance to produce a new building at reasonable cost. Is that true?
Very exciting, and it's not pretty unique, Tony. It is unique. This is the first piece of council infrastructure that's been printed in this nation using 3D technology. So it's unique to Australia. And I guarantee it won't be the last, because already the inquiries that I've had from other councils, from other council areas, media inquiries have been extensive, but just council inquiries from other council areas saying, well, gee, you've done that now. What else could we do? What other infrastructure could we print? How cheap is it? A whole range of questions. And I wonder. Cameron Park. Yes, go on. That's right. And I do take your point, and I'll talk about Cameron Park and just give you an idea of what I think is some of the efficiency out of this particular project. Now, if we go back to Cameron Park for a second, as we know, we've got a new toilet block there. It is inadequate for the needs there, and was certainly lesser than what was there before in terms of the amount of cubicles, the amount of ability for people to be able to use the toilet there, which is strange and a bit disappointing. I don't quite understand why you would put something in there that was new that had less than the old one. But to give you an idea of costing, that particular contract was awarded, that tender was awarded in July 2019, so 4 years ago essentially, and it was $310,000 for that toilet block you've got there, and that gave you the 3 cubicles, the male, the female and the disabled. So not a lot for your $310,000. As comparison, now we know building prices have gone through the roof, and so we've gone 4 years forward now to the one that we're doing in Lions Park West, the cost for that tender price was $316,000, so $6,000 more. Again, 4 years' time is a fair difference in time. But what we're getting in that toilet block is 5 female cubicles, 2 male cubicles, 3 male urinals, and 1 disabled toilet. So effectively, call it the same money, $6,000 difference is not much in the scheme of things. For the same money, you're getting a lot more than you got in Cameron Park. So does this give us the opportunity to produce other pieces of infrastructure at a much more cost-effective price? Then I would say absolutely. Does that mean we're going to put a new toilet or another toilet in Cameron Park immediately? Not immediately, but certainly it has been discussed. Your Wellington councillors have certainly brought this up on several occasions. It's not in the budget for this financial year, Tony, but it doesn't mean it's been forgotten about. And based on the toilet that we've done in Lions Park West, we may be able to see a way to produce lots of infrastructure, including toilets, much more cost effectively.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting because the size of that toilet block you just mentioned is exactly the same as what the old block used to be in Wellington. 5 female, 2 males, the equivalent of 3 urinals and 1 disabled toilet.
Yep.
That's exactly what we had before.
Yeah, yep. And I don't understand why it wasn't replaced like for like, but again, that wasn't my decision. I wasn't on council at the time, but all we can do is move forward from here and see if we can get a better solution. One of the things that's been fascinating with this project, Tony, is the amount of interest, both local interest and national interest. But I've been over to the site a few times during the printing process, which hasn't taken long. It's been a few days of printing. But the number of people that have been going past, people are fascinated by it, and it's quite hypnotic watching it. You could sell tickets to it almost, Tony. Maybe that's a way we could pay for a new toilet, sell tickets to watch the 3D printing. But it's been quite hypnotic and mesmerising actually watching the printer. It just keeps going around the loop and just keeps printing layer after layer after layer. Before you know it, you've got all the walls constructed.
So it's a solid concrete construction, is it?
It's solid concrete, and what they do is they do the 2 walls. I'd estimate they're about 25 centimetres apart, and then they put connecting a tie joiner between the two for reinforcement, so the 2 walls are connected, if you like, as the concrete's being laid. And each wall itself, each of those 2 walls, is probably only about 40 millimetres wide, and then each layer goes on top. So it's basically double walled. If you were building a house out of it, that'd be fantastic for insulation because you could drop some insulation down between those 2 walls. Obviously, you don't need to insulate a toilet block, but it's a double walled solid concrete. And the strength of that concrete, it's quite interesting. Some people have said, oh, surely a brick wall would be stronger. When you talk about concrete rating in MPA, the concrete surface that you've got there, this construction methodology they uses concrete, and the concrete's a secret sauce by all the different people that do 3D printing, so I can't tell you exactly what's in there, but it's rated at 50 MPa in its strength. As an example, the concrete slab that it's being laid on is probably only 20 or 25 MPa, and a brick is only about 6 or 8 MPa. So it's certainly stronger than you'd find with a brick wall, for example.
Well, that's very interesting. So structurally speaking, that's pretty good. What kind of a finish will they look at for the inside and the outside?
Well, what we're doing with the toilet is we want to make it very low maintenance. Each layer that goes on means that you end up with a horizontal ribbing around there, the height of each layer. So it's quite interesting, and feel free, anyone that's listening, to go to my Facebook page or my YouTube channel, and I've actually got a video of it under construction and showing what the outside looks like as well. And then what you can do is you could render it afterwards, you could paint it afterwards. What we've done is we've put a small amount of oxide in the actual concrete mix just to put a slight grey colour to it, so it'll keep that colour, so we won't need to paint it, reduce the maintenance costs of it. It'll be that same concrete surface on the inside walls as the outside, so no cement render over it, no gyprock or any other material to actually surface it. It'll just be that raw concrete surface, which is fine. If you were doing a house, if it was me personally, I'd probably put something on the inside walls like gyprock just to finish it off a bit differently on the inside walls, but there's nothing stopping you leaving that concrete wall as a surface on the inside. Okay,
Matthew. Well, thanks very much for talking to us yet again on Binjang 91.5, and we've been talking to the Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council, Matthew Dickerson.
Thanks for your time, Tony. Talk in a couple of weeks.
Thank you then.
Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickinson from Dubbo Regional Council.